So David Benavidez broke down yet another fighter with his relentless pressure. The basic principle of pressure is to get your opponent to back up while you move forward. So how does Benavidez always get his opponents to back up? One of the ways he does it is by establishing a body jab. This is a great way to force your opponent back because unlike a jab to the head, or really any punch to the head, you can't slip or roll under them. You have to move your feet to avoid it, or stand there and try and block it. However, standing and blocking has its risks, because you could get baited to block low and you'll still be in range to get hit up top, so taking a step back is the most common answer. And Yarde lacked an effective counter to dissuade Benavidez's body jab. So with the body jab established to get Yarde to step back, Benavidez can mix in feints to back Yarde up as well. This way Benavidez isn't using so much energy actually throwing the punch. As you can see, this feint makes Yarde step back and end up on the ropes. As a pressure fighter, energy efficiency is important. Part of the strategy is to get your opponent to use more energy than you by making them constantly move back, then use more energy to circle off the ropes. However, it's no secret that one of the most important tools for keeping a pressure fighter off of you is the jab. Yarde did not use his jab much in this fight, but this was by design because he knows that Benavidez is very good at countering the jab while he's coming in. This is also what makes Benavidez so successful at pressuring his opponents. He comes in looking for the jab, lingering at punching range to bait it out like you see here, and when he sees the jab coming, he slips and counters, then continues his pressure. As you see him counter Yarde's jabs here, but just because your opponent is good at countering the jab doesn't mean you shouldn't throw it. An educated jab is a must against a pressure fighter. And so instead of using a sharp jab to try to keep Benavidez at bay, Yarde instead came in with the strategy of using a probing lead hand to control the distance. This is also known as a long guard, and it's intended to work as an obstacle to stop the opponent from freely walking into the space, and also as an obstacle blocking punching lanes so Benavidez can't freely punch him. This probing lead hand, which Yarde holds out in front of him, instead of punching with it, allows him to take control of the space between him and Benavidez. He also uses it to control Benavidez's gloves and his head, all in an attempt to slow down the pressure. As you can see here, Yarde is along the ropes, so in order to escape, he uses his long guard to pin Benavidez's right glove so he can't hit him with it as he circles out. And then he sticks out the lead hand again to take control of the space, so Benavidez can't just freely walk him down again. While the long guard is a very effective defensive system, there is no such thing as a foolproof defense in boxing, and every defense has its weaknesses. Unfortunately for Yarde, Benavidez is a master at countering long guard users. Benavidez put on a clinic against a very prolific long guard user in Caleb Plant, and against Yarde, he utilized the same strategy to exploit the weaknesses. The first step to counter the long guard is to threaten with feints. Feints are great for setting up offense by drawing out reactions. However, against the long guard, they also serve as threats to keep the opponent in the long guard, where he'll slowly burn his shoulder out, holding his arm out for long periods of time. This is a long-term strategy about energy conservation, where the goal is to not let the long guard user rest. As you see here, Benavidez's feints keep Yarde's long guard out, or even make him step back, which uses more energy than stepping forward. From there, the second step to counter the long guard is to attack the body. The long guard leaves an opening to the body, and the only way to defend body shots with the long guard is to step back, or lower the guard, which as said earlier, leaves you at risk of being hit high. The thing is, setting up the feints first ensures you dull your opponent's reactions. When they stop reacting to the feints, you can simply follow through with a real punch and catch the long guard user sleeping. If you mix in feints with the body shots, it'll keep your opponent confused as to when a punch is coming and force them to respect every feint with a step back, further wearing them out. The last step Benavidez used to counter the long guard was to change head slots and punch around the guard. You see, Yarde would primarily stick his lead hand in front of Benavidez's face. This blinds his vision and also stops him from moving forward. If he can't move forward, then he can't attack, since he can't move forward and punch without bringing his head with him. So Benavidez's counter was to simply change head slots, under the guard or around it, so that it's out of his way and he has a clear path to punch. A bonus strategy against the long guard is to parry the glove out of the way. Giving the glove a good swat manipulates the guard, forcing the long guard user to move it back. Particularly parrying the glove down forces the user to do a small lateral raise to bring the glove back up, a small maneuver that will help burn out their shoulder. Manipulating the guard like this can also create openings to punch. Here Benavidez uses his glove to pull down Yarde's outstretched arm. This creates an opening for the straight right hand, which Yarde barely manages to dodge. That being said, I want to point out a missing aspect of Yarde's long guard game in this fight. Earlier in the video, I said the long guard is also known as a probing lead hand, and that's because one of the uses of the long guard is to probe your opponent's offense. Basically, when Yarde felt Benavidez challenge his lead hand with a pull down like this to clear the lane, Yarde could have used this information to set up a counter by catching Benavidez coming in with a right hand. Yarde did show he could probe the offense with his long guard and avoid the attack like he does here, but never showed an ability to actually counter to dissuade Benavidez from attacking so freely. Instead, he ends up on the ropes, where he'll either get beat up or spend more energy to try to escape. Or even in these situations where Benavidez changes head slots to attack, Yarde could have used his probing lead hand to bait this out, and could have caught Benavidez coming in with a right hand at the first sign of commitment. He knows Benavidez has to get around the lead hand in order to attack, and a high-level long guard user would use this information to set up the trap. Look here how Tank Davis sets up his long guard to control Ryan Garcia. He knows Ryan has to attack around the guard to hit him, so he expects this and springs the trap at the first sign of commitment. Yarde had the opportunity to set this up as well, but didn't. And lastly, really quick, I want to talk about how when on the ropes, Yarde lacked defensive fundamentals and was much too square, especially for being in the Philly shell. This led to him getting caught up the middle by Benavidez and getting beat up every time he got stuck on the ropes, which was often. On top of that, Benavidez smartly made use of forearm posts to deny clinches from Yarde and continue beating him up on the ropes. As always, thank you all for watching, and remember to subscribe if you like my content, and special thanks to my GOAT tier patrons, Jason Maheenan, Grant Gabriel, Albert Chen, Jesus Galindo, Nyan Valdez, MSM Neal, RC, Daniel Contreras, Jacob McMillan, Braden Sosa, Defensive Genius, David Castro, Malik, Gussie, and CJ Huang. You guys keep the channel going, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you all for watching.